We left pretty early in the morning to go to the airport. We just chose the cheapest flight that we could find because this is the kind of crap that we were trying to get away from. And this is the place we were trying to get to. A lot like last time, Allison was very nervous for this flight, but luckily she didn't puke a single time on this flight, so that's great for everybody. And luckily I got to sit next to some really cool people. The only downside to this flight was Minnesota tries to keep you here as much as it can. And of course we had to de-ice, which took some time, but I had a really cool window seat this time, and I got to see how they actually de-ice the planes, which was really cool. And luckily it didn't take them too long to de-ice us, and we were taken off in no time. And as happy as I was to be jetting away from this horrendous wasteland of a state, I couldn't help but appreciate how pretty the place looked from the sky. As stunning as the views were, I had no intentions of staying awake for the entire 4-hour flight. So I threw on some headphones and I was out.
Seatbelts are securely fastened. Tray table and seat back in their locked upright position. All carry-on bags now stowed for landing.
When I woke up, I was thrilled to see that all of the snow beneath me was gone, and there was this greenery for miles. And we were actually 20 minutes away from landing when I woke up. Little did I know, however, when we were landing, this would be a whole new experience. Even compared to the last time that we went to Florida. We were some rural people going and landing in urban Florida. So getting around was pretty difficult. It took us a couple hours to get away from the airport just because we were trying not to spend $30 on an Uber ride and maybe find a cheaper bus, but we had no idea how anything works, so we ended up just settling for the Uber ride. On the bright side though, in our aimless wanderings, we ended up finding this duck, and he was pretty dang comfortable with people, so that was pretty cool. And much like the first time that we went to Florida, we ended up exhausting ourselves looking for our hotel. So we just did some minor exploring and then decided to call it a day. After waking up with a healthy amount of sleep, we decided that we had enough energy to go exploring more vigorously today. So we headed down to the local beach and did some sightseeing out there. While looking for other things to explore, we found that just down the shoreline there was a state park, which I was very surprised to hear about, being as we were in the middle of a city. And it was only a short drive from our hotel. And you're not going to believe this, but guess what? They had tree crabs. I was walking along, I thought I saw a giant spider in this tree, but it was a crab. There's a crab in a tree. Apart from the tree crabs, there were a lot of neat trails and neat things to look at in this park. There was even access to this waterway where in the right season you'd be able to see manatees and stuff swimming through, which I thought was really cool. And besides that, just getting to look at some of the cool houses and boats that were around the area was pretty neat. The park itself is only like a mile long, and it's really cool to see the mix of nature and city life put together like that. So the park's called Hugh Taylor Birch, and if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, I recommend checking it out. At this point in our trip, we decided to do something that we wanted to do last time that we went to Florida that we didn't get around to, and that was visit the Everglades. And this is my first time ever in a national park, and we decided to start it out by taking an airboat tour, which was a really cool way to see all the wildlife and its natural habitat. As cool as the airboat tour was, I personally enjoyed just walking around the park a lot more. We entered at Shark Valley, but before we got to see anything cool, we noticed that we had lost one of our members. Allison's dad was nowhere to be found, so we went on this boardwalk that opened up to a clearing to see if we could find him.
Look at him.
Hi, Dad.
No idea what's going on.
Hi, Dad.
Look how fast it's going now.
After regrouping with Allison's dad, we finally got around to exploring the park. And the park was full of wildlife that was so accustomed to human presence that you could get as long a look as you wanted at them, which was super educational and very interesting. And it really felt like we were in their habitat, which we were. I was very appreciative that they allowed us to be in their habitat and to learn the way we did. And anyway, here are some of the animals that we got to see along the way. Shark Valley was full of amazing animals and very helpful people, so if you're ever in the area, I highly recommend stopping in. As much as I hated leaving, we had a long drive back to our hotel, and we noticed that none of us had been on the beach at night yet, so we wanted to check that out. And having the entire beach to yourself was one of the coolest things that I'd experienced since we got to Florida. At this point, while running around, Allison started to get real whiny about her foot.
Do you think I did get stung by a jellyfish?
Probably not.
Oh, I hate my life. I'm kind of pissed off at the jellyfish, though. Kind of wish they were extinct right now.
The next morning, we decided to do some investigating to see what kind of jellyfish Allison had been stung by. We woke up to a beach littered with dead jellyfish. I assume they died the night before when the heavy waves were crashing onto the shore. It was an odd sight to see all the jellyfish just laying on the beach, but we didn't have time to be sad for jellyfish. We had other things to do today. We had a very special excursion planned, one that I was very excited for. And for our final night in Florida, we were going night kayaking. Night kayaking was a very beautiful and unique way to experience Fort Lauderdale, and that was the perfect way for us to wrap up our trip. The last day is always an odd one. You have this sense of comfort returning to normality, but there's this sense of loss too, as you finished a small adventure in your life that you can't get back. I'm just thankful I got to go in the first place, and that you at home care enough to follow along with me. So thank you.